I've got a large collection of arcade games. I wonder how much it would cost to complete all of them if it was a real arcade. Only one way to find out. Greek mythology is full of many tales of great heroes, gargantuan monsters, and people capable of otherworldly feats. Hercules and his 12 trials, Pandora's box, Prometheus and the eagle, Sisyphus and his boulder, Midas and his golden touch, the Trojan War, Achilles and his heel. The stories are large in number and have been an inspiration for a lot of media. A fair number of games have been made based on the mythology, but only a few of those few are as memorable as today's game, Altered Beast. Created by Sega in 1988, Altered Beast is a 2D platform brawler that follows the journey of either one or two players with the power of furry rage as they attempt to save Athena from the ruler of the underworld, Neph? Are you sure? Not Hades? The cool one? An actual Greek god? No? Alright then. The game starts with your characters being revived by Zeus with that iconic line,
"Rise from your grave."
He said it!
Then you're straight into the game. He commands you to go and save his daughter. Why the literal god is relying on mortals to do his parental responsibilities, I don't know. Lazy shit. The controls are a simple 3-button stick scheme. The stick allows you to move and crouch. One button allows you to jump, a second attacks high with a punch, and the third attacks low with a kick. Pushing the stick up and jumping makes you super jump, and in a confusing design choice, combining the kick button while ducking down makes you attack up. The pickups and the HUD are also super simplistic. There is only one pickup, these blue balls that are just desperate for your touch. Collecting one will increase your power and decrease your clothing. Collecting 3 will transform you into a werebeast, which varies depending on the level you're on. Becoming a werebeast changes your capabilities and the attacks of your hero. The first form you'll encounter is a werewolf. In this form, you gain the powers of the wolf, which is obviously fireballs. Your punch becomes a projectile fireball and your kick becomes a dashing attack. You get 3 lives per credit. You lose 1 when your health drains, but thankfully you won't lose your transformation, even after using a continue. The first level isn't too difficult, but you will see some of the dirty tricks the game will use to milk money out of you. The levels follow the same formula across 5 stages, being short but packed with enemies and hazards to try and kill you dramatically. At the end of each level is a boss. They're easier if you have the beast form, but will vary in challenge. The first boss is this thing that looks like a devil stuck in a giant turd. This is probably the easiest of all the bosses you'll encounter. Its only attack is to throw its heads at you. You can avoid them if you're precise enough, but as a wolf you can dash into them and destroy them. To kill it, you keep blasting its body with fireballs. Easy as masturbating, as you would expect from the first boss, but at the end of every boss fight, pretend Hades arrives and drains your powers and gives you your clothes back, effectively resetting you to your default strength and default modesty level. Level 2. New scenery, new threats, and new enemies to stop the game feeling stale quickly. The enemy variety is noticeable. Every level is guaranteed to feature at least one new enemy, but you will see reoccurring ones, which also change in each level. If you see any enemies that flash, it means they're going to drop a power orb when they die, and you can start getting naked again. The tactics you employ to defeat enemies rarely evolve beyond landing hits on them before they hit you. Only a few enemies have some form of telegraph to their attacks, so trying to land a hit while avoiding being hit is a risky move, and one you often lose. Not to mention, almost every enemy can immediately drain 1 square of your health. Your health is made up of 3 sections. Each one will go from blue to yellow to red, and then after that will disappear. But a lot of enemies can drain health quickly or just straight up take a square away, meaning the risk you run when going to attack an enemy is even greater. Getting powered up makes these fights easier, as you do in fact deal more damage, even if it's only a little more per power up. In your default state, you'll easily notice the health of your enemies. Some enemies are killed in a single strike, some might need more than 1 hit, and others might need to be hit in a certain area. Like these dragon snakes, you can kill them by either knocking off their heads or knocking off their rattle butts. As you power up, you'll notice that enemies that used to take multiple hits will die in one, and enemies that took lots of hits will die even quicker, thanks to the power of steroids and furry rage. While enemies are easy to kill and easier to kill as you power up, it's even easier to be hit and killed by them. They often get cheap shots in on you because of the one frame response mechanic they have. All too often you'll find yourself being hit by an enemy who hits you the very second you get within distance of them, usually just out of reach of your attacks, and they can do this several times in a row. Some are just irritating, like the wasps that run in quickly from off screen, and some enemies are easily disposed of. The variety of enemy combinations will keep you interested long enough to try and finish the game, even if the enemies are dicks and the hit detection is slightly off in effectiveness in the enemy's favour. In this level, you get to transform into a were-dragon. As a dragon, you can fly anywhere on screen and use the power of lightning to defeat enemies. The drawback with this form though, is that now you're a bigger target because you lie flat, ergo easier to hit. And this problem is very prominent in the boss fight, which is, what else, a plant that shoots eyeballs. The eyeballs that it shoots can be shot down, but they tank damage like a bitch and close in on you quickly to hurt you. And because you are now horizontal, these eyes can touch you easily because they move at an angle. In a sense, it's like a bullet hell game with lag. The boss itself has little health and enough hits will kill it quickly, but the eyeballs will often block your shots. With a second player it's easy because you can focus your fire and damage input onto one eye to break through, though the eyes can still take you down quickly if you don't combine your efforts. A little luck is involved here, but not too much, and you can counter it with a second player. Level 3. Turtle slugs and wasps that run with erections litter the level, and this familiar looking enemy makes its second appearance. You're going to die a lot on this level because you get hit so often and so quick, sometimes resulting in you falling into pits. Easily a frustrating experience, but at least the music is catchy. It's good quality considering the tech limitations at the time. The music is catchy, even if it is just little loops of a few notes, but it's also very quiet. The sound effects are much louder and clearer, if limited in number. The death screams are probably the loudest, and it feels like the other sounds get muted slightly to highlight it. I'm not certain, but what do you think? If it is, it's basically the game going,
You fucked up! You fucked up!
As much as this level pisses me off, I like the animal for this level because it's the ancestor of Sergeant Cuddles. It has a burp that can turn enemies to stone, and it can sonic spin jump into enemies. But best of all, its ducking pose is just adorable. What's not adorable though, is the level's boss. You want to take a guess what it is? We've had a devil turd and an eyeball plant. This time, obviously, it's a dragon snail. How do we beat it? I'm not certain. First you need to blow on its shell so that you push the head out of the top. Then, I'm not entirely sure. We figured the head is the weak point, so we tried jumping into it. And it looked like it was working, but blowing on the shell worked just as well. Avoiding the fireballs was tricky because of the pattern they fly in, and we kept misjudging our ability to hide from them within the shell. If the head is all the way up, it'll start firing mucus instead of fireballs, and those can be destroyed by jumping into them. But we kept burping on it and emerged victorious with bad breath. Level 4. At first it feels like they ran out of ideas for enemies, as the majority of them are palette swaps of the first level enemies. The palette of the level though, I actually like in this one. The graphics are very good for the time. Character models look detailed, some of the animations are quite smooth, and the backgrounds offer a variety of convincing looking locations. There are even some special effects that add depth to the level, like body parts flying towards you. And of course, the iconic furry rage transformation scenes are some of the best animations in the game. Well, the wolf transformations are. The artist only had a month to work on these animations, so not all of them look great. In fact, they just look shit. Though the tiger, this level's beast form, seems pretty lazy as a character too. It's a clone of the wolf, but the fireballs move in a wave and the kick attacks are vertical instead of horizontal. In terms of level design, throughout the game everything feels cramped. The camera seems slightly too far zoomed in, and character models are large, and the obstacles and platforms take up a considerable chunk of the screen. It's both a gift and a curse. Yes, you can see clearly, but the levels get very populated quickly, which can make it hard to navigate the level without being hit by something you couldn't see or couldn't react to in time. And it also does create some accidental homoerotic moments. The boss is yet another weird looking thing, a baby dragon with belly fireballs. It's fairly easy, but the off hit detection could cost you a life in this fight. If you stay on the floor and dodge under its fireballs, assuming of course the hit detection is on your side, it won't touch you. While you're in this situation, you can fire back and hit him easily. The dash attack can be used to kill the tiny dragons it fires, and on the odd occasion it will attack on the very bottom of the screen. So the best way to approach this fight is to act like the mariachi xenomorph and get into a rhythm. A bit of patience and pattern following for this one, especially because it takes forever to die. This boss has probably got the most health out of all bosses, but following this pattern of attack will wear it down slowly but surely. Level 5, the final level, and it does actually look like an underworld. The eerie music, the twisted shapes and visuals of the background and foreground, and the sickly looking colour scheme effectively set the tone of a journey's end, and the anticipation of facing fake Hades builds at an almost perfect rate. But the enemies kind of look out of place. Like, I can understand the two-headed dog thing, but naked unicorn men and fish? I'm not so sure about. In this level, most of the enemies are brand new. However, the most disappointing thing about this level is the beast form. It's the wolf again, the only difference being its colour and the look of its attacks. It sucks they couldn't think of a final monster, but I'll let it slide. This also is one of the longer levels in the game, and playing it you can't help but think you've been playing longer than usual. It's quite a fun level actually. Taking on Neff's final few minions as you're on the final stretch of the game does offer a lot of excitement, and when you reach beast mode, watching everything die quickly is very satisfying. When you reach fake Hades for the final time, it's time for you to defeat him once and for all. But, plot twist, he's also capable of furry rage. He transforms into a rhino form, which, fun fact, you can see in the Wreck-It Ralph movie. Neff is a tricky boss, and you need to develop a strategy for him. Initially, it looks like you can't avoid his attacks. Your fireballs hurt him but won't make him flinch as he stomps towards you to painfully boop your snoots, and abuse the one-frame attacks to fuck. And abuse one-frame reactions to fuck. We thought that the dash attack would allow us to phase through him to avoid his punches, but it's the same problem, only this time you bounce off him, leaving you open for attack. In hindsight, we probably could have jumped over him, but I at least was uncertain that the angle of the jump would have gotten me enough distance away from him. Neff is also the only boss with a second phase. As he takes more damage, he slowly turns colour, Rocksteady style. Then he gets a shoulder charge attack and you can jump over it, but we tried to power our way through and it didn't go so well. Thankfully, however, infinite credits allows us to make stupid mistakes like that, and he had roughly the same health as the first boss and dies fairly quickly from regular attacks. He's not a hard boss, but we did have a bad tactic, so learn from our mistakes. Once fake Hades is defeated, he flops over and Athena flies out of a black hole in bird form and stares thankfully into your snout. The credits roll and you get a slideshow of action and behind the scenes style images, which, to be honest, I got a little chuckle out of. Looking at the game now, some of you might be wondering what made it so special. Well, for 1988, this was a cutting-edge game. The transformation sequences, the ability to transform at all, responsive controls, entertaining levels, appealing features, and the fact it was a game you could genuinely see yourself getting better at appealed to a lot of players. Reviewers weren't as nice to it though, giving it low to average scores, but it was definitely a game worth playing, even if some of its difficulty comes from cheap enemies. What if I told you though, this game is technically unfinished? Makoto Uchida, the game's designer, had planned for additional features for the game, including a pressure sensitive control feature. What this control would have been used for, I don't know, but Uchida claims that half of the planned player features had to be removed from the game because they weren't able to get this feature, and as a result, players got tired of the game quickly. And I can see where they're coming from. If you play this game, the chances are you're either going to go down one of two perspectives. Either it gets repetitive quick and you get bored, or you aim to finish it once and then you'll have no desire to do it again. I do wonder what those features that were scrapped would have been though, but sadly, we may never know. But in short, this game is an era-defining game. It has a lot of cool features for the time, and admittedly, it is most likely going to be a one and done game, but any time you spend with this game will always be enjoyable. And that was Altered Beast. Thanks for watching everyone. Join us next time where I'll be using a hoverbike to dispense justice violently in the future.